Are you intrigued by those who make the right choices to achieve success? Curious about what it is they know that makes them successful? What have they learned from their careers and life journeys? In his interviews with some of London's most authentic leaders, David C.M. Carter reveals secrets of success to inspire and motivate you to pursue your dreams. Insights from people of all backgrounds will empower you to get ahead. Learn from those who have challenged their status quo and understand what it takes to overcome failures and setbacks. Change your mindset and begin your journey with this episode of Secrets of Success.
Growing up in a family of 5 kids, I think it's probably in the middle child, and being from a family of kind of parents. My mum's a homeopath, and my dad was a QC and now a High Court judge. I think kind of being brought up in an environment like that is probably quite unique. That's kind of shaped me.
My parents were very keen for me to go down a route of becoming a dental surgeon. I did my A-levels in chemistry, maths, biology and statistics so that I could become a dental surgeon, and I was lucky enough to be offered a place by a number of different universities.
The pivotal events really have been at school, getting in the rugby at 15. You'll soon realise I haven't got any academic qualifications.
Father died when I was 12, and that shapes you in so many ways. It obviously shapes you in terms of sometimes not being quite sure about whether it's your place in the world or, certainty in life.
Going to the London Business School, working in the oil industry, turning around Jaguar cars, and my job as a chief executive at BAA. These are the key things that defined what I did.
So I went to university 2002 to 2005. I was at the University of Birmingham, and it was one of my first lectures actually. I was sitting there and 2 students came into the lecture and they go, "Can we have a volunteer?" And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm not going to volunteer. I don't want to embarrass myself in front of these 300 plus people that I've got to spend
Volunteer for what?
Well, this is the thing, you didn't know, right? So it was just a volunteer. You volunteer for what? And that was exactly the kind of question going through everyone's mind. Anyway, the guy in front of me goes down, volunteers, they go down to the front and they give him a bottle of wine, which has a lot of currency during Freshers Week when everyone's kind of scrounging around. So, and they go, "That's it, you can go and sit down." And everyone else is in the room was like, "You don't need to do anything, what's that about?" And they just said, "Life's about opportunities. Monday evening, 6 o'clock, come and find out about ISEC." So I thought, that sounds interesting to me.
Something happened over the summer that I actually wanted to go and work in the city and maybe work in international trade. And even though I had some unconditional offers from various universities, I said to my family that actually I don't want to be a dental surgeon. For me, it's not personally the right thing to do. I respect that as a career choice, and the value add you bring to people's lives. But for me, it wasn't exciting enough.
Being in the rugby team, I'm a great believer you've got to have vision in life, and I've believed that ever since I was 16 or 17. And I really motivated myself by imagining how I'd feel seeing my name up on the school board, being in the 15, running onto the pitch, and hopefully a lot of people there and people applauding, trying to get my colours. And the thing that drove me on was thinking how I'd feel if I achieved that. So that was very important to me.
And how did you feel when you did achieve it?
Oh, actually, I felt $1 million. It was all worth it. And that drove me on to always have a vision in my life.
The next stage would have been going to Cambridge. I was the first person in my family to have gone to university. It was a real privilege to be there. I met people, I experienced things that was an enormous privilege. Enormous privilege, and of course quite a unique set of circumstances. And that really gives you a sense of more ambition, more possibility, and maybe more connections at a very practical level that you would never have had otherwise. So that was a pretty pivotal moment.
I played in the first 15 at rugby at school. And the first year I played, we lost everything. We lost every game. 2 schoolmasters came and taught us how to play. They were both Welsh internationals. They'd both come to play for Coventry, and they knew how to play this game, and they showed us how to play it. Apart from the first couple of games, after that, we won everything. And we were the same people. And I thought, there's an interesting thing. You can improve performance hugely if you actually make it simple, make each person's role straightforward so that they understand it, and make sure that they do it properly. You can do all of these things.
So I go along and find out, and you had to apply to be part of this organisation, and it's like a leadership organisation, and it was set up in 1948 after World War II around cultural understanding and developing future leaders. So I applied, and 25 of us got selected, so I was really pleased to be selected. And then in the journey over the next few years, I ended up going on placements to the Philippines and to Colombia, which was amazing. Over this 3 years, I invested a lot of my time. It wasn't paid, but you can see the more you kind of put into an organisation like that, the more you get from it. So when I was graduating, I wanted to work for the organisation for a year as kind of a sabbatical, which was a paid position. And you had a leadership conference where you had to stand, and I wanted to apply for external relations to build relationships with the organisation, to get more sponsors. So my view was, they've invested so much in me, if I give back for a year and I can help more people get these experiences, that would be fantastic. So it was a 4-day conference. You had to do an application form, an opening speech, closing speech, an impromptu speech, a Q&A. I mean, it was an intense, you had 3 or 4 hours a night sleep every night for 4 nights. And at the end of the conference, you had 10 people standing for 5 jobs. It sounds very fraternity as well. There were a jug of water gets poured over the successful candidate. And so there I am standing there, and in that moment, and you asked about failure, the jug of water gets poured over a guy standing next to me. And it was in that moment of absolute, I was mortified. I was shocked. I just thought I'd done so many great things. And I think deep down inside of me, there's a message, failure can't exist with persistence. And it really made me kind of think, what did I really want to do?
I was working at Deutsche Bank. This was in 1999. Obviously a great bank, a great establishment. But I had a vision and a dream, really, to set up a company that would trade letters of credit online. So what happened after that, a few months later, I actually saw an advert in the FT where the previous global head of Deutsche had left Deutsche Bank and started a company which was the first company in the world to trade letters of credit. And seeing this advert, it asked for somebody who would like to be a co-investor in the business and come and head up their banking relations team. So I applied for the role. As luck would have it, they offered me a role to be an investor in the business and a co-founder of this online trade finance business. So for me, it was pivotal. The reason it was pivotal is because when I asked a number of people who were my friends, family, etc., I think they felt excited about the opportunity, but actually reserved at the same time that I'm leaving an organisation with the brand name, with the sort of level of security of Deutsche, to go and start working in an internet startup and help to start it from scratch. So I think for the first time I really was bold, and I made the decision to go with what my gut instinct was telling me.
You know, people say, well, in 20 years' time, I'd like to be doing this or that. I find it easier to have a short-term vision because that actually puts real urgency into it. So if I have a 3-year vision, or 5 years, the maximum length of time I have as a vision, I now have got to act today and get my act together in order to achieve it. And I suppose the best example I can give is starting J. Rothschild Assurance before the name changed to St. James's Place. And I just had this vision. Obviously, we went through tough times with regulation, the stock market, etc. And we wanted to go public after 5 years. That's what we promised everyone. That was our dream. And the thing that really kept us going during the rough times was visualizing how we'd feel when it was announced that we'd gone public, we were quoted on the stock exchange, picturing it being hopefully in the FT, having a share price, but even more importantly, saying to the people who had faith in us to join us on day one, we've delivered on our promise.
And you got there after 5 years?
Yes, we achieved it in 5 years.
Fantastic.
If you want to be successful, just measured in business, you've also got to be prepared to take the risk. I mean, I remember my ex-wife, as she is now, when I came home and had a great standard of living, being chief executive of Allied Dunbar, lovely house, swimming pool, tennis court, etc. Suddenly I come home and say, I'm leaving Allied Dunbar, I want to start a new company, Jacob Rothschild's going to back it, etc. And I think she thought I was out of my mind. You know, why do you want to risk all this? But all I knew was I would never ever get it out of my mind that Jacob Rothschild, Mark Weinberg, had given me the opportunity to start my own company, and I turned it down. I'd never have forgiven myself. Even if it had gone wrong, I had to see if I could do it.
I didn't know what I wanted to do when I left university. I would be lying if I said that, you know, my life had been just one carefully chosen plan and a singular journey to get there. I joined advertising because I thought it would be attached to the media, it would be interesting, and actually there wouldn't be any more study involved. That was quite a priority, I remember, at the time after my degree and after A-levels and all those other intensive periods. So I went into advertising because I felt that it would be interesting. It's also to do with understanding people, working with other interesting people, whether they're creative or they're strategic or whatever. And of course I liked advertising. It's interesting stuff.
You worked on some interesting accounts, didn't you? Harpic, I think I read somewhere, and Sterident.
Do you know, I thought advertising was going to be so glamorous, so glamorous. And of course my first advertising accounts were Harpic and Sterident, so loo cleaner and denture cleaner. What it did teach me is that you can get interested in just about anything, because there are always psychological issues, people issues. When you get human beings involved, frankly, in just about any category, in any organisation, life becomes very interesting because they've got feelings, they've got resentments maybe, they've got history, whatever it is, and it's very important that you've got to engage people in what it is that you want to achieve.
I think that business is really relatively simple. It's about making money out of satisfying customers. Once you've satisfied them, of course, and in a competitive marketplace, you have to do things even better. So you've got to get continuous improvement into your business. And I learned process improvement early on in my career at Jaguar Cars. And the best people to improve the process are the people within the process. So if they want to do it, they have to bring their enthusiasm to work as well as their hands and feet. You want their brains and their enthusiasm. Their hands and feet are relatively cheap, but their brains and enthusiasm brings huge value added. And that means they have to believe in what they do. They have to believe in the company, and they have to believe it's doing the right things. That's why it's never been difficult to make me a good neighbour, because I think we should be good to the people around us, we should be good to our environment, because this is what your high quality employees want, and that makes a better business.
Getting the best out of your employees by delivering the best to your customers. It's not that complicated.
You have to do things the right way. Now, the right way is not to count one thing. You have to count everything, every part of the patient experience or the customer experience. All of it has to be added up, and you have to improve all of it. To improve one little bit of it at a time is absolutely no way to manage. For me, no matter whether it's water companies or it's car companies or it's airport companies, property companies, or whatever it is, getting it right and doing it properly seems to be of great advantage to everybody.
From being a student to graduating within a few weeks to having a limited company founded with my brother.
This is Student Beans.
Student Beans, which was our original website. And it was, the reason why I emphasise on starting is I think that's the bit that stops a lot of people.
So the breakthrough was starting.
The breakthrough is starting. And everything else that happens, I always say, in a year, after a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and now we've been going for 9 years, is any stage, if it stops, if you look back at the connections, the opportunities, the networking, the brands that we work with, everyone, I mean, it's unbelievable. And the people that we've touched, the difference that it makes, the lifestyles and the environments and employees that are in the business today, and similar the employees that have been before that are no longer with us, we've contributed to their lives. And that is extremely powerful, that we've been a part of their journey. We did get rejected by the bank from a loan, another failure, but fortunately the Prince's Trust helped us. So they provided us a low interest loan, just a couple of £1,000, and belief in us, and they provided a mentor, actually, a support from DLA Piper, the law firm. So we had a partner mentor us over the first couple of years of the business. So you can see from those failures, had the bank said yes, then we would never have had that opportunity or experience with the Prince's Trust, and with indeed probably a mentor that probably would add a lot more value than probably my local bank manager. The idea of Student Beans was around baked beans on toast being a staple diet, and the idea then of Student Beans to become a staple for student life. And it's very much fits, and then it was on graduation. As I said, I didn't get the ISEC experience, and one of the people that really inspired me was a guy called David Taylor, who's written a book called The Naked Leader. And David's very simple message, which I absolutely love, which is, imagine if you couldn't fail. Who would you be? Where would you go? And what would you do? And I remember so many friends, or family and senior people, you're too young to set up a business, you don't know what you're doing, how can you possibly? And if it's gonna succeed, if it's not gonna fail, there's no option. And I think that was also around, you make a decision and you commit to it. And I love, and David used this and I use it as well. You make it the biggest kind of analysis paralysis. If you don't make a decision, you don't move forward. And whether it's the right or wrong decision, it almost is irrelevant. Because two things can happen when you make a decision. Either you move closer to where you want to go, or you move further away. If you're further away, then stop, make another decision. And if you move closer, then keep doing it.
Launched E2 Exchange in May 2011. It's allowing me to do something I really love, and which is making a difference to people's lives and helping individuals who've taken that element of risk to set up their own thing do it better. And we try and do that in a number of ways. We've got a long way to go before we can provide all the services and the support that I would love to provide. But the way that we currently do that is primarily by creating connectivity between like-minded individuals.
So if I was an entrepreneur and a member of E2E, what would the benefits be that I get today?
So a part of our whole business is that we do a lot of events. We have about 40 events a year, and they range from small-scale dinners to big receptions to what we call entrepreneur to investor afternoons. It's a little bit like Dragon's Den, where companies pitch for funding. So the key focus of all those...
From angel investors.
From angel investors. But the key focus of all those events is to create connectivity between the members of E2E Exchange and the people who come to our events, and to help them get access to finance and help them get access to non-exec chairmen and directors.
It's very interesting that you're helping entrepreneurs, you know, raise money, get the right advice, network with other like-minded entrepreneurs, many of whom are hoping to make their fame and fortune out of their business idea.
Yeah.
Yet actually you're not that motivated by money.
You know, I think about this quite a bit, because I feel the happiness is actually when the companies are doing well. And I'm a big believer in kismet and karma. And if I can help companies do well, it will come back, in my view. And I don't know why, in my gut, I just know that by supporting other people, life brings back how you treat it. It's a reflection of yourself, is what I'm learning as I'm getting older, hopefully a little bit wiser. So obviously I need to manage the business such that we are able to afford the right people and do what we set out to do. But I'm not driven by money, I'm driven by the successes that we're creating for people who are within our community.
Do you need to get out there to be lucky? There is no point in sitting at home saying, oh, I never have any luck. You've got to go and make luck. You've got to go and make luck, because if you put something out there in the world, usually something comes back. I'm a huge believer in what goes around comes around.
But I believe we also create our own luck. For example, I believe in luck in the respect that, you know, I was born into an environment which allowed me to be where I am today. That's luck. But everything else that's happened thereafter, I think, has been a combination of hard work, the choices I've made, or the decisions I've not made.
But I had prostate cancer 10 years ago. If you'd phoned me and it came completely out of the blue, no symptoms, just the medical revealed it. And if you telephoned me a week before and said, Mike, isn't it a beautiful day or lovely weather due for the weekend, I think, oh God, for God's sake, get on with it. What are you phoning me on? Suddenly you have something like prostate cancer or any major op like that, and you really, quickly it brings you up to a halt. I got through the operation, I'm absolutely 100% now, but it actually changed my life to actually realise that you don't live forever, and you've got to appreciate things like the weather, the view, friends, etc.
I think the best way to make a positive difference is, number one, is you've got to feel positive about yourself in the first instance. And that's why I'd always say, only have relationships with people who support you, want you to succeed, want the best for you, so you feel good about yourself. You heal yourself, you know yourself and everything else. You've got to make sure that you do that in the first instance.
I think I'm very grateful that I married my wife. I think she's brought stability and encouragement in my life. When I think I can take on this thing, she doesn't say, no, that's ridiculous. You couldn't possibly do that. How could I take on an ailing car company when I'd never made a car in my life? You know, how could you do that? Well, she encouraged me all the way through that. So none of the jobs have I found her discouraging.
There are two types of people. There are energizers and sappers. So energizers, you know, really bring, and you've got like, oh yeah, that's fantastic. And I'm generally quite an energizer person. And then the sappers are ones that kind of really, really bring things down.
Life is about attitude, and therefore, if you have a positive attitude and a positive mindset, you can reach the levels that you want to reach by being focused on it, by thinking in a very positive way, by creating the sort of ecosystem around you because of your attitude. If we all live life with a negative attitude and thought we can't achieve something, you won't achieve it.
It energizes you more to spend time with people who are radiators. Similarly, it can be very tiring to spend time with people who are drains. And so therefore, of course, you would want, if you ever coach people, you want to make sure that you help them through the drain mindset, if I can put it that way. Why is it that we've got a sort of prurient fascination with accidents and bad things? Or maybe it's just that, you know, these are the things that people who run media companies believe that others are more interested in. I'm not quite sure how it happens, but all I would say is that you have to view a lot of the bad stuff that happens in this world and find some good to come out of it.
Tony Blair and David Cameron weren't able to achieve concrete things. They did things, but they weren't able to get basics right.
I can't follow anyone that I don't feel is genuine. Someone can be a great orator, give a wonderful talk at a convention, and people will say he's an inspirational speaker. And he might well be an inspirational speaker, but it's people's behaviour that actually inspires me.
I think it's very important for leaders to want other people to be brilliant. If the only way they feel they can lead is by making other people feel less, if you don't want to make sure that other people are encouraged to be brilliant and nurturing to do so, I don't think you've got the right to call yourself a real leader.
If you really care, you will do things in the right way. So having a caring approach, I think, is very important for me. Caring
about people, caring about outcomes, caring about
people. If you care about the people, my view is the outcomes will come.
So you need to make people feel good about themselves and what they're doing and where they're going and who they are and what they can do in a way that connects with what the planet needs. And all the other inhabitants of the planet. You know, I think the planet is the most extraordinary place. You know, I'm a big believer or engager in Gaia theory. This is the most extraordinary place. All living things need to be respected. And that biodiversity, that extraordinarily complex ecosystem, we are here to be guardians of that.
People perform best when they feel respected, valued, cared for and appreciated, which I'd like to think really sums up the St James's Place culture. Everything really comes under those things. And I think love and loving people, you just walk towards them. It's about them, not you. And I think too many people in life, it's all about me, rather than thinking, how can I change the world and make other people happy? And I go back to my statement, I think you get the majority of things you want in life if you help others get what they want.
There are certain things I think are very important, and you know, nurturing people, helping them be all they can be is a really critically important part of life. And what's more, making sure that, you know, we're all doing our work, going about our business in a way that again makes a positive difference to people and planet and society at large.
Profit is a byproduct of a well-run business. You shouldn't make it the driving force. Those people who make it the driving force of the business always shortchange somebody. I find it better to get everything right. Then you can make a good profit.
Develop the friendship, and that can actually be much more important than anything else in your choice of career or running a business.
Everyone should think, I'm actually chief executive of my own life. I'm far more in control of what happens to me than I probably realised. And as soon as I realised that, it just enabled me to achieve so much more.
About the winning though, it's about the learning that takes place and the journey.
Obsession doesn't guarantee success, but lack of obsession does guarantee failure.
Everything matters. The way that you look, the way you sound, your skills, you know, the kind of areas of expertise and specialism that you're developing, all these things matter.
If you really put your heart and mind into something, you know you're trying your best. The opportunities are out there, and I think the UK provides a lot of opportunities for people to do very well in.
The only constant is change, and I think that if you resist change, the more you resist change, if you stand still, you're going to be backwards.